Good morning again. So I'm continuing with the Dhammapada, and the section on happiness is where I've reached. And it's such a lovely section that I'm going to read the whole of it. I'm going to read the whole of that section and then say a few things about some of the verses. Let us live happily, without hating those who hate us. Let us be free from hatred among those who hate. Let us live happily among the ailing. Let us live in health. Let us live happily, free from greed, among the greedy. Let us live happily, though we call nothing our own. Let us be like the gods, feeding on love. Victory breeds hatred, for the conquered is unhappy. The calm one is he who has given up both victory and defeat. There is no fire like greed, and no ill fortune like hatred. There is no sorrow like this bodily existence. There is no happiness like nirvana. Hunger is the greatest ill, and this body the greatest source of sorrow. When one knows this, nirvana becomes the highest happiness. Health is the greatest of blessings. Contentment, the best of riches. Trust is the best of relationships. Nirvana is the highest happiness. Having tasted the sweetness of solitude and calmness, he who lives by the law is free from fear and suffering. It is good to see the noble ones, and to live with them is happiness. Happy is he who never sets eyes on fools. He who goes with fools has a long journey. Company with fools is as painful as being with an enemy. Company with the wise is as pleasant as meeting with friends. Therefore, one should follow the wise, the intelligent, and the noble. One should follow them like the moon in the path of the stars. So, happiness actually isn't a word that I tend to use myself or what I aspire to, funnily enough. I think because I have a certain association with happiness, which isn't particularly associated with awareness. It's a bit like losing ourselves in some temporary joy or something. But actually, I think what happiness means here is a much deeper happiness than that, much deeper. Something more stable, you could say, more grounded. And that is what we're looking for, isn't it? Something more grounded, a deep sense of contentment, you could say. So, once again, in these verses, greed, hatred, and delusion, that's what is so unhelpful to us. I mean, most of these verses, they don't need any explanation other than really taking them to heart. And, we will live happily if we do not hate or feed our greed. This verse, let us live happily, though we call nothing our own. Let us be like the gods, feeding on love. I don't think it means that we can't own anything, that we can't at least think we own anything, because everything is so temporary, isn't it? And that's the thing, to hold everything very lightly that we do have. We can't call any body our own or anything our own because it is impermanent, because everything changes. And I'm very aware of that right at the moment. Me and Bodhivajra are going to be leaving Horsted, and there's a lot of mixed feelings there. I've been here for 18 years, and every window that I look out of, I'm surrounded by green, by bushes and trees and nature. And where we're going, that'll be very different. There is a sense of gosh, yes, this is impermanent. But funnily enough, when I've looked out of my cabin window, a lot of the time I've been very aware that although in law, in law you could say I own this place, I don't really. I've often been aware that I've often sat there and contemplated that, in 30 years' time, for example, I'll be dead and this place might not even exist. It's quite a big plot of land in a way, and so somebody might decide to take this rather small bungalow out of this plot of land and build something else. Somebody might not like the trees and cut them down. Or somebody might come here that really appreciates it, and it might stay intact for a while. It won't be up to me. So I've always been aware that I'm a temporary guardian, if you like, of being here. So if we can call nothing our own, if we can realise the temporary nature, the transient nature of everything, then we won't cling to it in the same way. But what's even more important is we'll really appreciate it because of that transience. I always think that about, particularly in relation to people. It's like, well, perhaps with COVID at the moment, we're more aware than ever that people that we know may die, and we may die. We just don't know. And well, it shouldn't just be sobering. It should also help us to really appreciate each other, to really appreciate those friendships that we've got, those connections that we've got, that we will not have forever, even post-COVID. It's just that the coronavirus has made us more aware. But in a way, it's there all the time. We are not going to have those people in our lives forever. It might not even be for very long. We just don't know. So it can make us, it can help us to be much more loving by knowing that, by really knowing it very, very deeply. They're precious to us, and we don't know how long we'll have them. So if we could feed on love, if that's what we could feed on rather than our negative emotions. So why are those negative emotions so compelling? Well, I think it's partly because we often feel them more intensely than pleasurable emotions. Hatred has got a lot of energy in it. Resentment, full of energy. Jealousy, mad energy, And often those energies of the negative emotions are very strong. They incite us, excite us even. So they can be very compelling. And it's good to investigate our emotions and see the relative strength of each of them so that we can investigate why it is that they, I was going to say attract us, but that's probably not quite the right word. But they do in a way, it's like they're habitual. They're certainly habitual. And we need to see them for what they are. And it then says, victory breeds hatred, for the conquered is unhappy. The calm one is he who has given up both victory and defeat. So we could see these as another of the worldly winds. We could add these to the worldly winds, couldn't we? Victory and defeat. Yeah, the conquered is unhappy. We don't realise that when we get one over on somebody else, it may feel good to us. But how do we feel when we're conquered in some way? Yeah. So, when you have an interview for a job and you don't get that job, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could think, I'm really pleased that somebody has had a phone call today offering them that job. Wouldn't it be great if we could do that? So it's good to imagine, what would it be like to be less selfish, to really care about other people to that extent. So I'm going to leave it there. I think that's something quite nice to reflect on. We could think about situations where we feel victorious, we've had that success and it's at somebody else's loss. Yeah, how would that be to really rejoice in that? That's all for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.